Hello lovelies, welcome back to Alake Gay YouTube channel. Today's tutorial is on how to make this pleated kimono dress. It was pleated at the shoulder and also at the waist area. If you're interested in learning how to make this, please continue to watch this video. Thank you. So to start off, I'm going to measure the measurement from my shoulder to the waist. You're going to measure your shoulder to the waist measurement, which is right there on the pattern paper. And the next thing is going to mark the overlapping. If you see the dress at the beginning, it has overlapping on the front, and I'm just going to mark 3 inches for that overlapping. And I'm just going to connect my dotted lines together like so. So from the line is where the measurement will start from. So I'm just going to write the C of the center front. That means after the line, that is where the measurement is going to start. And the next I'll measure is my half of my shoulder measurement. My shoulder is 14 divided by 2 equals to 7. Then after that, I'm going to mark the length of the sleeve. And you know this is a kimono, that's why I'm going to mark that there. And from where I mark the length of the sleeve, 5 inches, I'm going to come down by 2 inches for the shoulder slope. That's why I mark the 2 inches right there and dot it line. So from the center front, I'm going to mark 3 inches. That will be for the neckline. So then from that area where I mark the 3 inches, I'm going to connect it straight down to the where I mark the shoulder slope, the 2 inches right there. And from the way I mark the shoulder slope, I'm going to mark half of my round sleeve. My round sleeve is 10 divided by 2 equals to 5. That was what I marked. And I added 1 inch for seam allowance. And where I dot the seam allowance, I'm just going to connect that line straight. And that will serve as the shoulder measurement, the chest line. So I'm just going to measure what I have up there, and I'm going to take it straight down to the chest line, and I'll connect from the shoulder slope to that line there on the chest line. So on that chest line, I'll input the quarter of my bust measurement. My bust is 34, so 34 divided by 4 equals to 8.5. I'm going to dot that down, and I'll add 1 inch for ease because I want the dress is free around the bust area. Then on the waistline there, I input quarter of my waist measurement. My waist is 28, so 25 focus to 7. That's why I marked 7 inches. So there is no ease allowance around the waist because it's fitted. The dress is fitted at the waist area. It is only at the bust area that I added 1 inch for ease. But if you want yours to be free at the waist, then you can add ease allowance to it. So right now I'm just marking 2 inches. So that way I mark 2 inches, I'm just going to make a kind of curve to the sleeve area so that we're going to have a relaxing armhole around there. And the next thing I'll do is I'll add 1 inch for seam allowance. You know, we've not added seam allowance before, so I'm just going to add 1 inch for seam allowance. Then I'm going to connect that straight to the waist area. Then I'm going to make that curve again so that we're going to have a curvy effect around there to have a relaxing armhole. So the next thing is I'm going to work on this front pattern on this at the center. You know, it depending on how much you want your chest line, your chest to open. So I want mine to start to open around 8 inches. That's why I mark the 8 inches. If you want your chest to be open deeper than that, you can mark 10, you can mark 12, or even if you want it high up, you can mark 7 or 6 or 5. But I want mine to be 8. So from where we mark the neckline, the 3 inches, I'm going to connect it straight down to the opening of the 8 inches right there. Then I'm going to connect it from there straight to the waistline like so. And that is it for our pattern drafting. But I want to use this pattern to cut out the back. So what I will do is I'll first cut it out, then hide the overlapping allowance, the 3 inches allowance. So you're just going to see I'm going to do it now. So the first thing is I'll first cut out the pattern. So I'll cut off the excess paper that I have there. So I'm just going to cut it open right now. So now the next thing I'll do is to add the overlapping allowance. That's that. So I'm just adding it. So I've hidden it So now I'm going to place my pattern on my fabric, then cut it out, and that's our back piece. So for the front, I've opened the overlapping allowance back, so I'm just going to tape it down. And the next thing is I'm going to cut out the excess paper that we have there, you know, where our neckline started to where we want our chest to open to the overlapping allowance there. So this line that will make like a cross there, like a times multiplication, is where you're going to cut it off. Just look at where I'm cutting off right now, and that's where you're going to cut off. So this will be serve as our front pattern. So the next thing you're going to be doing a slash and spread method. So before we're doing the slash and spread, first measure what you have on your shoulder area here, and also what you have on your waistline. It is very important you measure that, because that's what you're going to use to take it back, because we'll be adding fullness to this, so that once we pleat it back or gather it back, you're going to know the exact number of what you're supposed to get. So that's why you have to first measure it. So write what you have on your shoulder down and what you have on your waist down. Then I'm creating channels right now. I created 5 channels, but I would suggest that you make yours more than that, because after making it, my dress was not really full as much as I want it to be full, in order for the beauty of the dress to really come out. So I would suggest you make it more than 5 channels. You can do 6, 7, 8. So now the next thing is I'm going to cut out the pattern, because we're going to be using slash and spread method. That's why we have to first cut it out. Just number it the same way I number this pattern paper, is the same way you should number it too. So the next thing is going to get another fresh pattern paper, and you're going to be taping it down one after the other. So I've taped down number 1 already. So the difference between the fullness that I wanted to add to it is 1 inch. So I'll be marking 1 inch away from each pattern. So I've taped down number 1 already, so I'm going to mark 1 inch, and that place where I mark 1 inch is where I'm going to tape down my number 2. So that's how I'm going to connect it for all the rest. So then for number 3 too, I'm going to mark 1 inch away from the number 2, and then I'm going to tape down that number 3, and I will do the same thing for number 4, and also the same thing for number 5, and that is just that on that. So I'm just taping it down, adding it one after the other. So the next thing I'll do is I'm just going to cut out the excess paper that I have there. Just follow your pattern like so. So I've cut it out. The next thing, I'm going to place it on my fabric and cut out my fabric with the pattern paper. You know, that should be on fold. You should have 2 pieces for the front, and here we have, I'm just cutting it off like that, and there we have, this is what our patterns, this is what we're supposed to have. So now to sew this, I first remove the pattern paper away, and you know we have 2 pieces for the front. The next thing is for us to go and gather it back. You know, I told us that we should note down the number of what you should have on your shoulder and also on your waist. So you're going to reduce this back to that exact number. You can gather it or pleat it, depending on how you want it. You can pleat or you use your gather stitch to do it. And this, I'm going to take my same machine and do that. And I've already done that already. So the number that I note down before, I'm going to measure it again to check if I have it there already. So I have about 9.5 there. I think that's what I have there. And then on the waist region, I'm supposed to have 11 inches in, and that's exactly what I have there. So that's that on that. I've done that for both sides, and also around the neck area. So the next thing is for you to place your overlapping together. You know, we added 3 inches for the overlapping, so you're going to place your 2 pieces together on top of each other with that 3 inches that we added for the overlapping. So just place it on top of each other. You can use your pin to pin it down together. Then you take it to your sewing machine and run a stitch there. So around this area, I just hem it. You can use your bias or you hem it, depending on how you want it. Then I'm just measuring my 3 inches there. Then I'm just going to use my pin to hold it down. just make sure you add 3 inches that you're placing on top of each other, and I'm going to pin it down. Then I'll take it to my sewing machine and run a stitch straight around that area. So I've already run my stitch around that area, and this is how it looks right now. So I'll be setting this aside in order to work on the back pattern. So this is the back, and you know, one thing is I forgot to add my zipper allowance to the back, but I will just be using the allowance from the side to join the zipper. So now, first thing before doing that, I'll be marking my neckline. You know, I'll be using 3 by 1 inch for the back because the back neckline will be high. So I'll be marking the 3 by 1 inches right around there. Then I'm just going to connect it and cut off that fabric. So what I mentioned earlier about the zipper, please, if you are making yours into a dress like this, make sure you add the zipper allowance to the back, unlike me that forgot to add my zipper allowance. So instead of using 1 inch to join the dress at the side, I'll be using ½ inch. So the rest of the half inch by the side will be what I'm going to use to join my zipper. I hope you understand that. But once you've added your zipper allowance to the back, then you don't need to do this. I'm just trying to explain my situation of how I got my things done with the zipper. So this is what I do, but yours, make sure you add your zipper allowance to the back once you are cutting your fabric. And that's what. So I'm just opening up the back pattern. Then I have 2 pieces for the back like that. So the next thing is that for the skirt part, I use my basic skirt pattern to cut out the skirt. I have a tutorial on the channel on that already. So now I'm just going to be joining the skirt to the upper part. Notice the back pattern. So we'll be joining the skirt to the upper part of the back. So I'm just going to place it right there. So the allowance that I have, instead of taking it straight at one side, I'll be dividing it both sides because of the zipper issue that I have. But just place yours on top of each other and go and run a stitch to join the upper bodies to the lower bodies. So that's just what I'm just going to do right now. So I've joined the back pattern together already. Can you see it? I've joined it together around the waist area. So, and I've distributed the 1 inch allowance. So now this is the front skirt pattern, and I'm just going to place the front half length on top of it, and I'm just going to lay it together very well. You can use your pin to hold it together and run a stitch straight across it like so to join the lower bodies to the upper bodies, just like that. So I've already joined it together at the waist area. Can you see how it looks? So the next thing is for me to place my back pattern on the front. So I'm going to join it together at the shoulder area and also at the side, and I'll add zipper to the back, and that's it for our dress. So at the hem too, don't forget to hem your dress. So what I'm doing right now is just placing my back pattern on around the shoulder area, and make sure they align at all sides, at the armhole, at the side, and also I'll take it to the sewing machine to join all those areas together. I'll add my zipper allowance to the back and also hem my dress, and that is all for this tutorial. So thank you very much for watching this tutorial. Can you see how it looks like? So make sure you add Essex to your dress, like I mentioned earlier, to have fullness there. So thank you very much for watching. If you've not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. And for all those that have subscribed, thank you very much. If you have any question, ask a question in the comment section down below. And thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate you. See you in my next tutorial.